welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today is the first day of Breaking Dawn.
Yes. Before we get too deep into things, though, just a reminder, you can find us on all of our social media. They are linked below. We have our Who Knows What Wednesdays, which are true crime, mysteries, oddities, who knows what. You can check those out. We also, of course, do our book reviews on Saturday. We have reviewed Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, and just last week for you guys, YouTube exclusive, our reaction to the Eclipse movie. So you should check that out.
Yes.
Was there anything else we had in there?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Oh, we don't need a summary because we're starting the book.
We're starting fresh. Kind of.
None of this feels fresh. It feels like the asparagus that you forgot in the crisper drawer. It's there, and it's not quite too bad. Like, you should really use it, but now you got to look up recipes, and it's really more of a hassle than it's worth. But you've committed to not overspending on food waste this year, so you're gonna do it. And that's how I feel about this.
Yeah. Well, luckily, the first few chapters aren't too bad for us, in my opinion. It's not that bad. It's not that dramatic. It's not Bella being overly stupid. So
yeah. Oh, that's the thing. Start of the book, just the reminder that Jess has not read any of these books. I have from a long time ago, and I so obviously glossed over things or just skipped areas I didn't like. I guess.
think you skipped like at least 70% of Eclipse.
I think I probably did. Knowing me, yeah. I get annoyed with characters and I go flip, flip, flip.
But we don't do that here.
We don't do that. No. So Jess is experiencing all this for the first time. So do not leave spoilers. She doesn't know any of the big stuff. And so it's really hard for me not to say anything. But if I can hold back, you can hold back. So shush.
All right. So we are in book 1 of Breaking Dawn. So the preface is Bella had more than her fair share of near-death experiences, but it wasn't something she got used to. But this seemed inevitable. It was like she was marked for disaster. You could run from someone you feared, but when you love the one who is killing you, you're left without options. You can't run or fight when doing so would hurt the one you loved. Chapter 1. Engaged. Bella promises herself that no one is looking at her, but she still had to check. Bella's in a car at a stoplight and looks to her right to see Mrs. Weber turned in her direction, staring at her. But then Bella realized her windows were so dark there is no way she had any idea who was inside, so she was just staring at her car. When the light turns green, Bella stomps on the gas only to be surprised with how fast it took off. She wasn't used to the new car, which I completely get.
Same. Yeah.
Even going from like all weekend, the past 4 days, I've been working on the ambulance. Going from driving that thing all day, which takes a lot to speed up and a lot to slow down, and then I get in my little car. Yep.
Yeah.
And I've had my car for a very, very long time.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I don't always think about how it takes a while to slow down, but that makes sense because it's a big ambulance. But yeah, I don't know. That would be an adjustment. Granted, it's just so massive that I would be intimidated to drive it.
It's an adjustment period. And just think we have a lot of equipment in there that is all very heavy. And at least 2 of us if it's just you and your partner, 3 if you got a patient, and if you're training, there's 4 if you got trainer and a patient.
So knowing all that, that's why I entrusted you to get us out of that really bad parking job that I did at a museum earlier this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, she maneuvered a minivan. It was not my minivan. It was impressive. I got us stuck.
Well, you should see some of the places we have to park and get out of. So
good point. Yeah, see, I knew enough to hop out, and I'm like, I'm setting my pride aside. Help. Yeah, NASCAR driver I am not.
Me either. No. So Bella reaches the gas station, and she was trying to convince herself that it was stupid to be so self-conscious about her engagement, the new car, Ivy League school acceptance, and the shiny black credit card in her pocket. A man approached Bella and was swooning over her car and asks to take a picture with it. After processing, Bella agrees and mumbles to herself that she misses her truck. I feel that.
Yeah.
I would miss that truck. Edward had gotten Bella 2 cars, actually. The before car and the after car. This was the before car that he would be returning, and the after car is in the garage hidden. Bella probably could have peeked by now, but she honestly didn't want to know. Bella started the car and took off. The road was familiar and couldn't be avoided. This road had flyers on every pole of the missing person posters. The missing person was Jacob Black. Charlie was the one behind printing and putting up flyers all over Forks and also Port Angeles, Squiam, Hoquiam, Aberdeen, and every other town in the Olympic Peninsula. We are not good with names here. He also ensured that all police stations in Washington had the same flyers too. He brought out a cork board. It was mainly blank, but it was dedicated to finding Jacob. Charlie was disappointed by the lack of response, mostly with Billy. Billy refused to put up flyers in the push and seemed as if there was nothing that he could do. Jacob is grown up now and he'll come back if he wants. Charlie was frustrated with Bella too for taking Billy's side on this. Bella knew when she got home that Charlie would be there and she wouldn't be able to use the phone, so she pulled over and pulled out the cell phone Edward gave her to use for emergencies. Seth Clearwater answered the phone, and after saying hi, asked if she wanted an update. Bella was impressed. Seth says he's no Alice. Bella's just predictable.
I love Seth. I really do.
Me too. And even now I can put a face to the name. He's so cute.
He's adorable. Also, props to Stephanie. I do like how she's like, Bella pulls over and then calls.
Mm-hmm.
Road safety, my friends. Road safety.
Yes. So Jacob is the same. He won't talk. They can all hear his thoughts, though. He is trying to not think human and just go off his instincts. He is somewhere in northern Canada, then tells her that he's not coming home. Bella thanks Seth for putting up with her. She knows the others must give him a hard time. Seth agrees that they aren't her biggest fans, but he thinks that that's lame. Jacob made his choice, and she made hers. Jake also doesn't like their attitude about it either, but he also isn't thrilled that Bella's checking up on him. So at this, Bella gasped. He talked to them? Jacob didn't, though. He's trying his best to hide from them, but he can't hide everything. Bella tells Seth that she guesses she'll see him at the wedding. Seth thanks her for inviting them. He and his mom will be there. The truth was that this was Edward's idea, and Bella is glad that he thought about that. Seth being there would be nice, and also it would be a link for the missing best man.
She was going to make him best man?
Apparently.
Oh, that's cruel.
That is very cruel.
That's very cruel. You were licking a wall. Why?
Yeah. Bella tells Seth it wouldn't be the same without him there. And Seth tells her to tell Edward hi for him. Then he abruptly had to leave because Leah just got home. Bella is waiting outside of Charlie's house and thinks of the night they told him. Edward and Bella were waiting for Charlie to get home. Charlie comes inside and Edward cheerfully greets him. Bella tells Edward to wait for Charlie to hang up his gun first. When Charlie comes around the corner, Edward tells him that they would like to talk to him. They have good news. Charlie's face turns suspicious and Bella tells him to sit down. Everything's okay.
See, if I was Charlie, I'd be like, pregnant?
Well, first quote of the book. Sure it is, Bella. Sure it is. If everything's so great, then why are you sweating bullets? I'm not sweating, I lied. I leaned away from his fierce scowl, cringing into Edward, and instinctively wiped the back of my right hand across my forehead to remove the evidence. You're pregnant, Charlie exploded. You're pregnant, aren't you?
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Though the question was clearly meant for me, he was glaring at Edward now, and I could have sworn his hand twitched towards the gun. No, of course not. I'm not. I wanted to elbow Edward in the ribs, but I knew that would only give me a bruise. I told Edward that people would immediately jump to this conclusion. What other possible reason would sane people have for getting married at 18? His answer had made me roll my eyes. Love. Right.
Different era, Eddie boy.
Yeah.
Because believe me, all of our generation, we're thinking the same thing. Either military, extreme religion, pregnant.
Yep. Charlie's glower lightened a shade. It was usually pretty clear on his face when I was telling the truth, and he believed me now. Oh, sorry. Apology accepted. There was a long pause. After a moment, I realized everyone was waiting for me to say something. I looked up at Edward, panic-stricken. There was no way I was going to get the words out. He smiled at me and then squared his shoulders and turned to my father. Charlie, I realize that I've gone about this all out of order. Traditionally, I should have asked you first. I mean, no disrespect, but since Bella had already said yes, and I don't want to diminish her choice in the matter, instead of asking you for her hand, I'm asking you for your blessing. We're getting married, Charlie. I love her more than anything in the world, more than my own life, and by some miracle, she loves me that way too. Will you give us your blessing? Whew.
Okay, it could be the anti-PDA in me. I would not be able to sit through that. Even if Johnny had done that to my dad, I would have been like, cool, you guys got this? Have fun. I'm out.
Yep. You do you. I'm going to be over there.
I'm going to be not here.
Mm-hmm. He sounded so sure, so calm. For just an instant, listening to the absolute confidence in his voice, I experienced a rare moment of insight. I could see fleetingly the way that the world looked to him. For the length of one heartbeat, this news made perfect sense. And then I caught sight of the expression on Charlie's face. His eyes now locked on the ring. I held my breath while his skin changed colors, fair to red, red to purple, purple to blue. I started to get up. I'm not sure what I planned to do. Maybe use the Heimlich maneuver to make sure he wasn't choking. But Edward squeezed my hand and murmured, "Give him a minute," so low that only I could hear. The silence was much longer this time. Then gradually, shade by shade, Charlie's color returned to normal. His lips pursed and his eyebrows furrowed. I recognized his deepened thought expression. He studied the two of us for a long moment, and I felt Edward relax at my side. Guess I'm not that surprised, Charlie grumbled. Knew I'd have to deal with something like this soon enough. I exhaled.
Charlie's handling that
Really
exceptionally well.
Really well.
Really well. Were I Charlie in this situation, given everything that's happened thus far from Charlie's perspective, I would have been like, Bella, how do you feel about therapy? Mandated therapy.
Mm-hmm.
All the therapy. Take a priest. Take all of it. I don't... Something unhealthy is going on there.
Yeah, it's not great. So Charlie asks if Bella is sure, and she is. But what's the rush? Edward explains that they're going to Dartmouth in the fall together, and Edward will want to do things the right way. Quote, "Knew this was coming," he muttered to himself, frowning. Then suddenly his face went perfectly smooth and blank. "Dad," I asked anxiously. I glanced at Edward, but I couldn't read his face either, as he watched Charlie. "Ha!" Charlie exploded. I jumped in my seat. Ha ha ha. I stared incredulously as Charlie doubled over in laughter. His whole body shook with it. I looked at Edward for translation, but Edward had his lips pressed tightly together like he was trying to hold back laughter himself. Okay, fine, Charlie choked out. Get married. Another roll of laughter shook through him. But what? I demanded. But you have to tell your mom. I'm not saying one word to Renee. That's all yours. And he busted into loud guffaws. Thank you. I knew.
Guffaw. I don't know.
Yeah.
Guffaw, I think.
I remember when I wrote that, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to pronounce that. Couldn't. Thanks, Connie.
No, I can get something today, but it's not anesthetist. Anesthetist. Why is that so hard?
CRNA is better.
Yeah, I have to go what's in the case file.
I know. It's stupid, though.
Yeah.
Bella smiled, looking back at the memory. Sure, at the time, the thought of telling Renee was terrifying, but Renee's response was nothing what she expected. After she told Renee, Renee tells her that she is miffed that she waited so long to tell her. Plane tickets will only get more expensive. She then starts talking about if she thinks Phil's cast will be off by then. After all, he wouldn't be able to be in a tux, and that would ruin all the pictures. Yeah.
I hear your mother.
Yeah. I do too. And that's why I eloped. Bella asks what she means. She just got engaged that day. Renee was shocked. She just assumed Bella isn't hard to read, and she knew when Bella and Edward came to visit. Bella is just like Charlie. She sticks with her decisions. Renee tells her that she isn't making her mistake. Bella has to make her own mistakes, but commitments were never Bella's problem. She has a better chance of making things work than most 40-year-olds that she knows. It's lucky Bella found another old soul. For the last few weeks, Renee had spent hours on the phone with Esme, helping with the wedding planning. Charlie was furious, not with Bella, but with Renee. He was betting that she would play heavy. Now his ultimate threat turned out to be empty. He had nothing left, so he just moped around the house and would mutter about not being able to trust anyone.
I love it.
Oh, Charlie. Bella finally goes inside and says hi to Charlie.
Oh, so this was all the flashback, and now she's finally arriving home after that conversation with Seth on the side of the road.
I think so, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Hold on, Bells. Stay right there. Huh? I asked, pausing automatically. Give me a second. Ouch. You got me, Alice. Alice? Sorry, Charlie. Alice's trilling voice responded. How's that? I'm bleeding on it. You're fine. Didn't break the skin. Trust me. What's going on? I demanded, hesitating at the doorway. 30 seconds, please, Bella. Alice told me. Your patience will be rewarded. Humph, Charlie added. I tapped my foot, counting each beat. Before I got to 30, Alice said, Okay, Bella, come in. Moving with caution, I rounded the little corner into our living room. Oh, I huffed. Aw, Dad, don't you look... Silly, Charlie interrupted. I was thinking more like debonair.
I love Charlie.
Oh, Charlie blushed. Alice took his elbow and tugged him around into a slow spin to showcase the pale gray tux.
Pale gray?
Pale gray.
Tux?
I could see Charlie in a pale gray tux. I think he would look good in a pale gray tux.
It's an August wedding. See, I hear pale gray tux and I go prom. Like baby blue cummerbutton bow tie prom. We might be thinking difference between like light gray and like heathered gray.
Oh, sure. Now cut that out, Alice. I look like an idiot. No one dressed by me ever looks like an idiot. She's right, Dad. You look fabulous. What's the occasion? Alice rolled her eyes. It's the final check on the fit for both of you. I peeled my gaze off the unusually elegant Charlie for the first time and saw the dreaded white garment bag laid carefully across the sofa. Ah. Go to your happy place, Bella. It won't take long. So Bella ignores Alice and goes to her happy place. Here, the wedding was done and over, and it was just her and Edward on their honeymoon. One of the biggest compromises they did was her fully registering for Dartmouth. He was worried about her missing human experiences, but there was only one Bella was worried about missing, and Edward wished that she would forget about it. Bella then thought of who she would be when she turned, and even if she was in control, she would never feel the exact way she feels now. She wanted to complete that experience before she traded herself in for something beautiful, strong, and unknown. Mostly, she wanted a real honeymoon experience with Edward, and he agreed that he would try. Alice was at work on the dress, and Bella was only vaguely aware of her. Quote, I was with Edward in my happy place. End quote. End of chapter 1.
I mean, I get where she's coming from. You and I both know that when it comes to weddings, you do get to a point, at least for me for sure, where I'm like, just you're so close to being done with the ceremony, the first dances. You are so close to being done. And the first thing Johnny and I said when we went downstairs to have a moment tour, actually no, before that, as we're going outside to take pictures, first thing we say is, "Oh, we don't have to plan a wedding anymore." Like there's something to be said about the happy place.
That's why I eloped.
Yeah, that just.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, you are a smart cookie. I was a masochistic cookie.
I would not do it any other way.
No, it was a fun party though.
Mm-hmm.
Good wine.
Mm-hmm. Really good wine. Chapter 2, Long Night. Bella tells Edward that she misses him already. Edward tells her he doesn't have to leave. He can stay. They were in silence for a long while, then started kissing. They stared into each other's souls for a long time, then Edward tells her he will definitely stay. Bella tells him no, he has to go. It's his bachelor party. Edward strokes her face as he tells her that bachelor parties are designed for those who are sad about losing their single lives, and he is eager to have them behind him. So really, there's not any point.
Okay, that's sweet.
Mm-hmm. Bella agrees, and the two of them start kissing again. Edward pulls away. Things were going too far. Bella tells him to wait, grips his shoulder, and kicks a leg free from the blanket and wraps it around his waist. She tells him practice makes perfect.
Jesus.
That's why I included it, because woof.
Stephanie.
Edward laughs. They should be fairly close to perfection by this point. Then shouldn't they? Bella tells him this is the dress rehearsal, and besides, they've only practiced certain scenes. It's not time to play things safe. Bella thought he would laugh, but he didn't. He doesn't know if this is a good idea. She could get hurt. Bella assures him she'll be fine. Edward starts to protest, and Bella shushes him and starts to kiss him.
No.
Edward asks if she's ready. It's not too late to change her mind.
She's in the same house with Charlie. Absolutely not.
Bella is sure about him, though, and the rest, well, she can live through that. Edward asks, what about Renee, Charlie, Angela, Ben, Jessica, Mike? Bella says that she'll miss them, then smiles. She'll especially miss Mike. How can she go on?
Okay, that I appreciate. And oh, she's talking about the butt. Oh, I think I'm thinking something different. Wait, I thought you were saying like the bite. Are they not talking about bite? Are they talking about marital acts?
They're talking about her changing. Yeah. Into a vampire.
I read that wrong. It's the position, the practice makes.
Oh, that part was about that.
Oh.
But the second part, Bella is sure about him, though, and the rest, well, she can live through that. Edward asks, what about after Renee, Charlie, Angela, Ben, Jessica, Mike? Now we're talking about the bite. But up until then, we were not talking about the bite.
Okay, good. I'm like, I didn't think I misread that bad.
No.
Okay.
So Edward growls. Bella laughs. They've been through this. She knows that it'll be hard, but this is what she wants. One lifetime isn't enough for her. Edward whispers to her, frozen at 18 forever, never changing or moving forward. Bella asks what he's getting at. He asks if she remembers when Charlie thought she was pregnant. Well, Edward wishes that Charlie was right. Bella tells him that she knows what she's doing. Esme and Rosalie are just fine, and if it's a problem later, then she'll do what Esme did. Adopt.
That's a very logical thing. Also, what? That's a red flag. 18?
Mm-hmm. Edward isn't happy. He doesn't want her to have to make sacrifices for him. He doesn't want to steal her future.
If you didn't want that, you should have just transferred schools in Twilight.
Yep. And she could be with Jacob.
Yeah. Or Mike.
Or Mike. Don't forget Mike.
Tyler. Tyler's an option.
Is he, though?
No.
I put my hand over his lips. You are my future. Now stop. No moping, or I'm calling your brothers to come get you. Maybe you need a bachelor party. I'm sorry. I am moping, aren't I? Must be the nerves. Are your feet cold? Not in that sense. I've been waiting a century to marry you, Miss Swan. The wedding ceremony is the one thing I can't wait. He broke off mid-thought. Oh, for the love of all that's holy. What's wrong? He gritted his teeth. You don't have to call my brothers. Apparently, Emmett and Jasper are not going to let me bow out tonight. I clutched him closer for a second, then released him. I didn't have a prayer of winning a tug-of-war with Emmett. Have fun. There was a squeal against the window, someone deliberately scraping their steel nails across the glass to make a horrible cover your ears, goosebumps down your spine noise. I shuddered. If you don't send Edward out, Emmett, still invisible in the night, hissed menacingly. We're coming in after him. Go, I laughed, before they break my house. Edward rolled his eyes, but he got to his feet in one fluid movement and had his shirt back on in another. Oh yeah, he was shirtless during this whole thing.
Excuse me?
He leaned down and kissed my forehead. Go to sleep. You've got a big day tomorrow. Thanks. That's sure to help me wind down. I'll meet you at the altar. I'll be the one in white. I smiled at how perfectly blasé I sounded. He chuckled, said very convincing, and then suddenly sank into a crouch. His muscles coiled like a spring. He vanished, launching himself out my window too swiftly for my eyes to follow. Outside, there was a muted thud, and I heard Emmett curse. You better not make him late, I murmured, knowing they could all hear. And then Jasper's face was peering in my window, his honey hair silvered in the weak moonlight that worked through the clouds. Don't worry, Bella. We'll get him home in plenty of time. I was suddenly calm, and all my qualms seemed unimportant. Jasper was, in his own way, just as talented as Alice, with her uncannily accurate predictions. Jasper's medium was moods rather than the future, and it was impossible to resist feeling the way he wanted you to feel. I sat up awkwardly, still tangled in my blanket. Jasper, what do vampires do for bachelor parties? You're not taking him to a strip club, are you? Don't tell her anything, Emmett growled from below. With another thud, and Edward laughed quietly. Relax, Jasper told me, and I did. We Cullens have our own version just a few mountain lions, a couple of grizzly bears, pretty much an ordinary night out. I wondered if I would ever be able to sound so cavalier about the vegetarian vampire diet. Thanks, Jasper. He winked and dropped from sight.
I do love the interplay there between Edward and Emmett. Like, that's very sibling, and I just love it.
Oh, yeah. That's why I included it. I'm like, it's just so cute. Come on.
It's so sweet. We like those little sweet moments. And basically, anything with Emmett thus far, I'm like, I love Emmett. He's a big sweetie.
Yes, he is. Bella laid back down, only hearing Charlie's muffled snores. This was her last night in her room and the last night as Isabella Swan. Tomorrow she would be Bella Cullen. Bella expected to fall asleep fast, but the anxiety creeped back in. It would be a long day tomorrow. Her first worry was her train of her wedding dress. Alice went overboard, and she worried about going down the Cullens staircase in the heels and dealing with the train. She should have probably practiced.
Yeah.
You should have.
The amount of practicing I did with my train, and my train wasn't even that long. I didn't wear heels.
Hmm?
I wore sneakers. It was nice.
I did too. The next is that Tanya's family would be arriving sometime before the ceremony, and it would be hard to have them and the Quileute guests, Billy, Seth, and Sue, to be in the same room with each other. Edward assured Bella that it wouldn't be dangerous at all. Tanya and her family, besides Irina, felt guilty about what happened and would make a truce with the werewolves to make up for what they did. There was also a small problem, too: Bella's fragile self-esteem. She had never seen Tanya before, but she was sure that it wouldn't be good for her ego because she made her play on Edward. She wouldn't be able to help but compare herself to Tanya. Edward had told Bella that they're the closest thing they have to family. They still feel like orphans even after all this time. There were now 5 of them: Tanya, Kate, Irina, Carmen, and Alazar.
Alazar.
Alazar. I was like, I got nothing. Her story was one of the many cautionary tales illustrating one of the rules Bella would need to be aware of. Well, it's really only one rule: keep the secret. The woman who created the sisters lived many years before Edward was born. She lived during the time of the plague of the immortal children. They created vampires out of humans who were barely more than infants. Bella was sick to her stomach thinking about what Edward had said. In response to Bella's reaction, Carlisle tells her that they were beautiful and enchanting. You just had to be near them to love them. It was automatic. But they couldn't be taught. They were frozen at whatever developmental level that they were changed at. Tanya's mother created a child like this, and the Volturi became involved. They studied immortal children, and Caius,
Caius, yeah.
I'm never going to get that right. And Caius decided that the young were incapable of protecting the secret, and so they had to be destroyed. The children, being so lovable, had many covens protecting them. Much was lost, but in the end, the practice was eliminated. Carlisle had lived with the Volturi when they had 2 of them. They tried to tame them, but they couldn't. It isn't clear what happened to their mother, but the sisters were oblivious until the Volturi came for them. They had their mother with the illegal creation already. Arrow touched them and saw that they were innocent, so they were not punished. Even though Arrow proved their innocence, Caius wanted them burned. They were guilty by association. They were lucky that Arrow was feeling merciful that day. Bella took this memory and started dreaming of the Volturi and them examining the toddler boy Carlisle had described to her. He was beautiful and adorable. Bella was struck with a powerful need to save the toddler and ran to... Oh, yeah, she's having a dream if we haven't already established that.
Yep, I figured.
Yeah. She came to a stop when she saw what he was sitting on: a pile of human bodies, drained of blood and lifeless. Bella knew them all: Angela, Ben, Jessica, Mike, Charlie, and Renee. Quote, the child opened his bright, blood-red eyes. End quote, end of chapter 2.
Damn.
Yeah, what a dream, right? The big day is chapter 3. Bella awoke from her nightmare in a panic. She can't believe that's what she was obsessing over the night before her wedding. She got up, dressed, and headed to the kitchen. She cleaned the rooms and then made pancakes for Charlie when he woke up. Bella was too wound up to eat herself. Pre-wedding jitters.
Those are debilitating.
Yeah. Bella reminded him that he is picking up Mr. Weber at 3. Charlie assures Bella that he doesn't have much to do besides being their minister. He isn't likely to forget his only job for the day. Bella reminds him that that isn't his only job. He has to be dressed and be presentable also. Charlie scowls and mutters something about a monkey suit. There was a knock on the door, and Bella reminds him that he doesn't have it that bad. Alice will be working on her all day. Bella kisses the top of Charlie's head and lets Alice in. Alice says hi to Charlie, and Bella gets in her Porsche. Alice tisks at Bella. It looks like she was up all night. She only has so much time to make her stunning. Bella tells her that no one expects her to be stunning. The bigger problem is that she may fall asleep in the ceremony. Alice laughs. She'll throw her bouquet at her when the I do's get close. But don't worry, she'll have plenty of time to sleep on the plane tomorrow.
Sorry, real quick, you know who that sounds like? Jody.
I could see that, yeah.
I throw a bouquet.
I could see her saying that.
Totally done that during my wedding. Jody, when you're watching this, you totally would have thrown a bouquet at me if I'd been falling asleep, and I love you for it. I assure you I wasn't. I was wired and terrified.
Yep. So Bella was surprised. She didn't know where they were going to be going. Edward wouldn't even give her a hint. Alice had packed all of Bella's things. She would have given away the surprise if she hadn't packed her things. Bella asked if Edward's back yet. He isn't, but he will be there before the music starts. Bella won't get to see him before anyways. They're doing things the traditional way. They pull in the garage, and Alice tells Bella that she won't get to see the other decorations until she comes downstairs. Alice wants Bella to get the whole experience at once. Alice placed her hands over Bella's eyes, and Bella immediately smelled something wonderful, and Alice asks if it's too much. Bella's the first human here, and she hopes that she got things right. The smell is orange blossoms, lilac, freesia, and roses. Alice went to work on Bella, and sometime in the afternoon, Rosalie announced that they were back. Alice tells her to keep Edward out. Rosalie assures that Edward won't cross her today. He likes his life too much. She then asks if Alice wants some help. She can do Bella's hair. Bella's jaw fell open in surprise. Alice tells her sure, she can start braiding her hair and then points out where the veil will go. Rosalie finished with Bella's hair, and it is Alice approved. Rosalie then goes to get the dress and locate Jasper. Jasper was tasked with getting Renee and Phil. Bella could hear voices from downstairs, and they were multiplying. Bella started shaking, and Alice tells her to take deep breaths. Try to lower her heart rate. She'll sweat her new face off. Alice then leaves to get changed into a silvery dress. Alice asks if she has control over herself or if Jasper needs to come. Bella asks if that means that her mom is here. She is, and she's on her way up. Renee entered and squealed. She is so beautiful, she's going to cry, then starts blabbering. She then says, it's such a creative idea to design everything around Bella's ring. To think it's been in Edward's family since the 1800s. There was a loud, gruff, throat-clearing noise in the doorway. It was Charlie. He tells Renee and Esme that it's time they get settled downstairs. In a shocked voice, Renee tells Charlie that he looks dashing. Charlie answers that Alice got to him. Renee gently hugged her, spun to the door, and then back to Charlie and asked where the box was. Renee handed her the box, something blue and old. They were 2 silver hair combs with dark blue sapphires clustered into floral shapes. Alice wouldn't let them do a thing. They started to laugh, and Alice quickly puts the combs into her hair and then says that there is something old and blue. The dress is new, then flickered something at her. It was a white garter. Alice tells her that it's hers and she wants it back, which is an odd thing to borrow.
The garters to me are just weird.
I don't think I wore one. No, I didn't.
No, you skipped. I remember we talked about it.
Yeah.
I skipped.
Yeah, I was like, no.
No, but my thing was, I'm like, no way in hell am I doing a garter dance in front of my friends and family.
Those are so uncomfortable. I couldn't even imagine.
I've seen two. And the first one I saw, I was a flower girl in the wedding. So I was like, my sisters were still in newborn car seats. So like, I was little. And I remember it and being like, why is he under her dress? And my mom being like, no, it's a game. It's funny. And I'm like, but you tell me all the time that people can't be under each other's dresses or clothes. Those are private areas. I don't get it. I was very concerned and very confused.
I could see this conversation going down with you and your mom.
Yes. And it was probably not volume appropriate knowing me as a child.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah. I can still see it in my head. Hey, they're still married today. They're happy. They're wonderful. They host Christmas every year. Love it.
There you go. So Bella blushes and Alice says, there, a little color. She's officially perfect. Alice then returns to Renee and tells her that she needs to go downstairs. Renee blows Bella a kiss and leaves. Alice asks Charlie to go grab the flowers. As soon as he left the room, Alice grabbed the garter from Bella's hands and ducked under her skirt and yanked it into place. She was done before Charlie returned. Rosalie began playing Puckabella's Cannon downstairs, and Bella started to hyperventilate. Charlie tells her easy, then nervously turns to Alice and asks if she's going to make it. Alice stands in front of her and stares at her in the eyes and tells her to focus. Edward is waiting for her. Charlie nudges her and tells her that they're up to bat. Alice checks in again, and Bella squeaked yes. Alice pulled her from the room, and Charlie tagged along at her elbow. Alice tells her that it's her turn, so count to 5 and follow. Bella tells Charlie to not let her fall. Charlie pulled her hand through his arm and grasped it tightly. They made it down the stairs, and Bella blushed as she looked in the crowd of faces, and then she saw him. Everyone was blurry except Edward. They made it down the aisle. Edward held out his hand, and Charlie took Bella's hand and placed it in Edward's. They had simple traditional vows. They did have Mr. Weber change the "till death do us part" to "as long as we both shall live."
I do like that. And also that is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That whole, like, you look and you see your spouse at the altar.
Yeah, that's exactly what you described.
It's exactly. And I even thought, I'm like, that's a cliche. Focus, don't trip.
Yeah, I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with that. So glad.
And my wedding wasn't even that big. Well, 150. That's not small.
It's not small, but people call that a small wedding.
Yeah, I'm imagining those people who do like those 300 plus weddings.
I could never.
I
had less than 10 people. I wasn't even in double digits, and that was as many people as I wanted there. I didn't want one more.
Nope. Yiggy's Ed. I've checked it off my list to say I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
But to anyone who comes to me and goes, I'm thinking about doing a wedding, I'll be like, hey, real quick, how much do you love cortisol? Because you're going to have so much cortisol. Like, even if you think you're not, unless you have copious amounts of money to hire someone to, do a good job and plan your entire wedding for you, you will have copious amounts of cortisol.
Yep.
You'll even be stressed as you pay the prices for some of that stuff.
Honestly, though.
Oy. That's fine. I aged 10 years in a year.
It was bad. Bella didn't realize she was crying until it was time to say "I do," but she managed to choke out the words. Edward says "I do," and Mr. Weber declared them husband and wife. Edward cradled her face in his hands and kissed her tenderly and adoringly. The crowd erupted into applause. Edward shifted their bodies to face the crowd, but Bella kept her gaze on Edward. Renee's arm was the first to find Bella, and her face was tear-streaked. Bella then was passed through the crowd from embrace to embrace. Bella wasn't paying much attention. She focused on Edward's hand clenching her own. Quote, one scorching hug stood out from all the others. Seth Clearwater had braved the throng of vampires to stand in for my lost werewolf friend. End quote. End of chapter 3.
I love Seth.
I do really
I
like
love
Seth.
Seth.
He's so sweet.
He's just adorable. Like, I just want you. I want to protect you. You're just you're so cute.
Mm-hmm.
So cute. And he goes through a lot in this book too.
Bad?
Well, I don't remember all the.
Okay, I shouldn't ask you anymore. I forgot.
Yeah. There was a couple of things in this book that as soon as I read them, I'm like, I hate this. I don't want to finish it. But I was at that point where I would still finish books. Now I'm at the point where if I read something and I hate it in a book, I'm done.
DNF.
Nope.
DNF.
Nope.
It's not worth it.
It's not, especially now with my limited time to do reading other than academic. I'm like, if I don't love it, goodbye.
Yep, exactly. Well, that is all I got. We got the first 3 chapters out of the way.
How do you feel about them? Any final thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, queries?
I was just surprised that we started with the wedding. I thought it would be a bigger lead up to it. And it's like, oh no, welcome back into Twilight. We're going to start you off with a wedding. And it's like, okay, so the wedding's really not a big deal. What's going to go down in this book? Because I thought that was going to be like the big highlight of everything, but we're starting with that.
When you finish this book, at one point you will turn to me, actually probably during the book, and you will say and mean it with your whole heart that you hate me. And I have no defense against it other than I brought this upon us, and this would be something I regret on my deathbed, that I brought Twilight to our podcast, to your life.
Not gonna lie, I do. When you're like, this is a great book, I'm like, is it though, Connie?
No.
It? Like, no, that goes for like all books, not just Twilight. It goes for all books. Now I'm like, is it a good book though, Connie?
Here's the thing though. The Connie that read this was prefrontal cortex, pre-high school Connie, like little bitty Connie. She's different. She had issues. She didn't have the prefrontal cortex.
I am just very glad that you don't like it.
No. I swear, I do not remember this book. It's like when you have some TREAT, there's a dog nearby, that you had as a kid. And it's one of those like giant chocolatey or some sugary
and it's
confection.
too like overwhelming and disgusting now.
Yeah, and when you have it as an adult, that's how you see it. But in your mind, before you have it, you're like, oh, this was the best thing in the world. It was the most amazing thing. This is going to be awesome. And you're 2 bites in, and you're going, I'm going to get diabetes. Like, that's how this is feeling to me. It's feeling diabetic.
Well, there's definitely a lot.
The insulin is the who knows what Wednesdays. Murder is insulin.
Well, I don't think you're going to be saying that after our Wednesday episode that we're going to film right after this.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry in advance.
Oh, that's not good when you're saying that.
I know you.
Oh.
I know you. I'm fine with, I'm not fine with what happened. I am unaffected by what happens. It's not.
Oh, it's medical.
It's gonna be gross.
Is it cannibal?
Maybe.
I have meat at home. You know what? It's fine. This is going to be an exposure therapy. I'm going to work my way through it because, like I said at the start of this episode, the food waste thing, I prep the food. I'm going to eat the food.
Well, on that note, we hope that you enjoyed our first episode into Breaking Dawn. And if you're intrigued by what we're going to talk about on Wednesday, be sure that you're following us, and that way you get notified when that goes up.
Yeah, like, follow, subscribe. And I didn't think I'd be the one ending this episode traumatized, and I'm pre-traumatized. Like preheated the oven. No, I don't think I want to say that with cannibalism that's coming up. See y'all next week.
Bye.
Yes. Oh no, I made taco meat and burgers. This is not good.
I know, as I was writing this down, I'm like, ooh, this might not be a great one for Connie.
Well, I've put you through Twilight, so that's just kind of going to be I'm putting you through 4 books of it. You can pretty much have a free pass on anything.
Let's just say I let my partner choose on, I think I was working with him on Sunday. I was like, hey, I've got 4 options here. Which one should I do? And he's like, this one. He's like, I don't know much about it, but I know enough for it to be, that's going to be interesting.
Anytime a medic has that type of smile or that intonation, I just know it's going to be messed up. First responder, period.